Hello friends, welcome to our one more video on how to build program logic. In this video, we are going to see how to build logic to solve the Tower of Hanai problem. So what is that we are going to see in this particular video? First, what is the Tower of Hanai problem? Second, how to build logic for this particular problem. Then, what are the logics or steps to solve the Tower of Hanai problem? We'll then see an example to solve this problem with 3 disks. Then the actual Tower of Hanai program. We'll do a dry run with 3 disks to understand whether the logic which we have used actually solves the problem. Remember always to focus on how the logic is getting built. So what exactly the Tower of Hanai problem? Okay. Now there are 3 rods of equal size and shape. There are also disks which can be of any number which can be slided onto or put onto any of these rods. Initially, one of the rods will have all the disks present in the ascending order, which means the disk with the largest size will be at the bottom and the disk with the smallest size will be at the top position, and other disks of other sizes will be in between these two smallest and the largest size disk. So what is the problem? The problem is to transfer the disk present in that first rod to any other rod, which is of course predetermined. That is the problem. However, there are certain rules with respect to the transfer of disk. First, you can only move one single disk at a time. You cannot transfer multiple disks at a point in time. Second, you can only move the topmost disk from the rod. You cannot take a in-between disk and transfer it to any other rod. And finally, never at any point of time you can have a disk smaller in size below a disk larger in size. Okay. So a smaller size disk has to be always above the larger size disk. So this is the graphical representation of the Tower of Hanai problem. So what we have an initial arrangement. Our towers are labeled A, B, and C, and the tower A initially has all the disks in ascending order of sizes. Okay. Uh, and when it comes to final arrangement, we are going to have all the disks in tower B again in ascending order. Now for our ease and our convenience and readability, we are going to have this kind of representation. So our initial arrangement, again tower A having all the disks, but instead of showing the disks, we are going to have numbers 1, 2, and 3. 1 indicating the smallest size and 3 in this case indicating the largest size disk. Okay, and this will be our final arrangement. Tower B having all the disks in the ascending order. Right. So now the question is, how do we build the logic for a Tower of Hanai problem? Now let's look at the approaches. First being the vertical thinking approach, wherein what we do is we simply follow the definition of the problem or the steps given to solve the problem. Okay? So our logic is entirely based on what steps to follow to solve the problem. Of course, we can improvise on the steps if possible so as to solve the problem in lesser amount of time or with lesser resources. Then comes the lateral thinking approach. The lateral thinking approach or the sideways thinking approach. So in this particular approach, instead of following the logic of the problem, we try to devise a technique or method which is completely different from the logical steps to solve the problem. Okay? And we try to develop a solution to solve the problem. So we do not follow the steps as they are. Rather, we try to devise certain different methodology or steps to solve the problem. Okay? Of course, this involves thinking differently. We have to be innovative, creative, or to find a technique which can solve the problem in spite of being in the rules. So, what is our approach? We, of course, are going to use a lateral thinking approach to solve this problem. Okay, uh, we have written down the rules. We cannot break the rules, whatever approach we follow, right? So, let's look at our approach. Okay, so, first thing is that we are going to shift this from the left tower to its right tower, and so on and so forth, and it's going to go into a circular motion. So once we reach the last tower, we'll again shift the disk to the first tower, and so on and so forth. The first tower which is going to be in focus is going to be tower A. This is the tower which is going to have all the disks initially. Then we are going to shift the disk from tower A to tower B if it's within the rules. Okay. And also we'll be shifting a disk from tower A to tower C, which is the tower next to the right of the B, if again within the rules, right? Then we'll shift the focus to tower B, and we'll repeat the steps 3 and 4, that is of shifting the disk from tower B to tower C and A if within the rules. And then we move the focus or transfer of focus to tower C, and then we'll repeat the steps 3 and 4 also for tower C. We'll repeat the steps 2 to 6 till we reach the final state. That means all the disks will be on the rod or the tower B, and they should be in the ascending order of size. And there is one precondition, which is this, that we cannot move a disk which was just immediately shifted from the previous or the left rod. We can do so only in the next cycle. That means when we again come back to the same rod or same tower, we can move the disk. Otherwise, we cannot move that very disk in that very cycle. Right. Now let's look at an example to understand whether our approach can solve the problem. Right. So we have written down the rules, the steps of our approach. Okay. And we start with the initial arrangement with our focus on A, and we are going to highlight uh, the tower or A in red if it is in focus. So this is our initial arrangement. We have towers A, B, C with A highlighted in red color, and that means it is having the focus. Also, it has all the disks which are in the present in the ascending order of their sizes. Now, using step 3 or rule 3, we will have this arrangement whereby we move the disk number 1 to the right of A, that is to tower B. And by step 4, we'll have this arrangement where we have moved the disk number 2 to tower C. Here, every time we shift the disk, we highlight that disk in red to indicate that was the latest disk to be shifted. We also have this label previous disk where we indicate the value of the disk which was shifted. Okay. Now we have disk 3, but we cannot shift it because our rules do not allow a disk of larger size to be shifted or placed above a disk of smaller size. That is why we cannot move the disk 3. And so now we have to shift our focus to the tower B. So we are having focus now on B. The previous disk to be shifted was disk number 2. So this is our arrangement which we had, right? And can we shift 1? If you look at rule number 3, yes, we can do so. And therefore, after shifting 1 from B to C, we have this arrangement. Okay? And therefore, 1 becomes the latest disk to be shifted. Our focus goes to C because we do not have any more discs on B, right? So this is the arrangement there, and the topmost disk is 1. Remember our rules, we can only shift the topmost disk, not any other disk. But if you can see that 1 was the latest disk to be shifted, and we are in the same cycle, and therefore we cannot shift 1 in this very cycle, and therefore we have to move to the next tower in the series, which is again tower A. So our focus is back again on A. So this is our arrangement. We have A in focus and we have disk number 3. Can it now be shifted to the right of A? B is empty, so obviously there's no disk below, which can be below disk 3. So in this case, in this cycle, we can shift the disk 3. So by following step 3 or rule 3, we come to this arrangement. We have shifted 3, right? And now we shift our focus to B. Right now, B again has a disk which was just recently shifted, and therefore it cannot be shifted again in this very cycle. And therefore, we shift our focus to tower C. So C is in focus again. We have the topmost disk as 1, and we can shift the disk 1 according to rule 3. So by rule 3, we do the shifting and we have this particular arrangement. A has disk number 1. Okay. Now we have one more disk on the tower C, which is 2. Can this be shifted? Yes. As per rule 4 or step 4, we can do the shifting. Okay. And it has to go to the tower right of A, which is tower B. And therefore, we have this particular arrangement. C no more has a disk, and therefore we have to move our focus back to. So we go back to A. We have this particular arrangement where A is in focus. We have disk 1 on A, and therefore we, according to step 3 or rule 3, we do the shifting of this disk 1 onto B. Okay. And this, in fact, is the final arrangement which we wanted. And so we could shift all the disks from A to B, and in the ascending order of their sizes by using the lateral thinking approach. Now we will see the actual program to solve the Tower of Hanai problem. We'll start with the main function. So our include statements, then a constant named disk, which is going to have value 3, that indicates a number of disks which we want to play with in this particular program. This value can be changed to any number. We start with the main function, then a loop count a variable to loop across the cycles of any loop. We declare 3 variables, counter A, counter B, and counter C. What they indicate? They indicate the position, the topmost position where the disk is present in a particular tower. Now our towers are going to be represented by arrays. So if a tower has 3 disks, the topmost disk position is going to be value 2, because in array we start from 0. So 0 will be the bottommost position and 2 will be the topmost position. And that is why counter A is initialized to disk -1, which is value 2. This counter is used for representing the topmost disk position in tower A. B and C initially will not have any disks, and that is why their value is -1. Then we declare 3 pointer variables, tower A, tower B, and tower C, and which are assigned memory location, which are going to represent tower A, tower B, and tower C respectively. we have made use of malloc function to assign the memory to this pointer variables. Then we declare a TOH function which is going to have 7 parameters. What these parameters will take, we'll see that in the TOH function. Then CR, then a loop which will go across the arrays and assign values to arrays. First to tower A, and it will assign value starting from 3 to index position 0, 2 to index position 1, and 1 to index position 2. Okay, so 3 at the bottom, 2 in the middle, and 1 at the top. Then one more loop to assign values 0 to tower B and C at each position. This is to indicate there are no disks present in tower B and tower C. We have a while loop which has the condition as 1. 1 indicates true. That means this while loop is always going to be true. Okay. Now, why this while loop? We want to do the transfer of this from one tower to another till we get the final state, and that is why this repetition has to be done till that particular state is arrived or achieved. Then we have a if condition where counter value is checked. Is the counter A value not equal to -1? -1 indicates that the tower is empty or does not have any disk. So we check whether the counter value of A or tower A is not equal to -1. That means it is not empty. And if so, we have one more if condition, but within this if condition, we have a call to the TOH or the tower of Hanai function, in which we are passing 7 arguments. What are these arguments? First, tower A, then tower B, and tower C. Now, what they represent? Tower A is going to be the source tower. That is the tower A from where you are going to transfer the disk. The next argument, tower B, is going to be a destination tower. That is where we are going to position the disk after transfer. Tower C is passed to for printing purpose only. It is not involved in the transfer. Then we have counter A to indicate the position at which we have the disk which is to be transferred, and then we have counter B to indicate the position at which we want to place the disk. 0 indicates the call value, and that will determine whether we have made the call first time or second time with the same source tower. This is used to allow transfer of disk in the same cycle or in the another cycle. How that works we'll see in the TOH function. Then we have one more argument 1, 2, 3. This is used for printing purposes. How these values are used we'll see in the print function of this particular program. Now this function returns a value. If it is not equal to -1, which means there was a successful transfer of the disk under consideration. Okay, that is when it returns a non -1 value. Okay, and second condition, again, if the counter A value is not equal to -1, that means the tower A is not empty. In that case, we again call the TOH function, but this time there is slight difference. The source tower is going to be tower A, but our destination tower is going to be tower C. This as per the step 4 or rule 4 of our approach, where we can also transfer this from the source tower to the tower next to its immediate right. Okay, but for that reason, the previous transfer has to be successfully done. Okay. If the previous transfer is not done, then in that case we cannot move the disk below the disk under consideration in the previous transfer. That is the first thing. And second thing is that it should not be empty. The source tower should not be empty. Only if it is not empty, only then we transfer the disk. And that is why these two conditions. If these two conditions are true, we are allowed to transfer one more disk from the same source tower. Here the values have slightly changed in for last two parameters. First or arguments. First, of course, is one to indicate it's a second call from the source tower, and we have 132 to indicate a different printing pattern. Now we have a condition where we check the value at the topmost position in tower B, and if it is 1, it means that we have achieved the final arrangement, and therefore we need not continue with the looping or calling of TOH functions again, and therefore we can stop this loop, and therefore we have the break statement. If counter B is not equal to -1, that means we have first check that the final arrangement was not reached, and now we have to go to tower B or shift our focus to tower B, and then do a transfer if possible from tower B to the tower C or even to tower A, right? And then we call the TOH function again. Of course, the source tower is going to be B, the target tower is going to be tower C, and tower A is the third argument for printing purpose. We are going to pass the positions of counter B and counter C to indicate where the source disk is present, where you have to position that disk. Value 0 to indicate it's the first call from the same source tower, which is tower B. If it returns a non -1 value, and if the counter B is also not equal to -1, then we can call the tower of unknown function again, and with values as tower B as a source tower, but this time the destination is going to be tower A. This as per the step 4 of our approach. We After doing the transfer from B, we move on to tower C. We have to first check whether tower C is not empty, and that is why this particular condition. Then we call the TOH function with initial or the source tower is tower C and destination is tower A. Okay. Again, same condition checking if the success if there is a success in transfer of this and the tower C is not empty, we can call the TOH function again with same source tower, that is tower C, but this time the destination is going to be tower B, right? And after that we check whether we have one at the topmost position in tower B. Okay, why we are doing this again? Because there was a call to a TOH function, the tower of unknown function, and there was a transfer from tower C to tower B. So if there is a change in the disk arrangement in tower B, we have to check whether tower B has got the final arrangement, and that is why we are checking the condition again. If the condition is true, we break the loop. Okay, this ends our main function. Right. So let's look at the tower of Hanai function, which transfers the disk from one tower to another. So the function name is TOH. There are 7 parameters. The first is the integer pointer, which captures the address of the source tower. Second is the tower target, again an integer pointer will capture the address of the destination tower. Third again is the integer pointer which will capture the address of the third tower. This is used here for printing purpose only. Then we have the counter source and counter target again both integer pointers to identify the position of the source disk and the position where you want to transfer the disk in the target location respectively. Then call second to identify whether this was the first or second call on the same source tower. And order variable is used to specify a printing arrangement. So we then declare two static variables preval and allow. Preval is used to store the value of the previous disk which was transferred. Okay. And allow is to identify whether you can allow the transfer of disk based on whether it is in the same cycle or in the next cycle. Val is to store the value of the current disk which you want to transfer. Then we declare a print tower function with four parameters. First three will be the integer pointers for the three towers which you want to print, and the last will be taking the value of order to specify the printing arrangement. How this works we'll see in the print tower function. Next, we capture the value of the disk which you want to transfer by specifying the source tower and with the index as the counter source value. Okay, and that value is assigned to the val variable. Next, we check whether it is the first call or the second call. Okay, so if the value of call second is equal to 0, which indicates the call was done first time for the same or a particular source tower. If it's true, we said allow to plus plus. Next, we have one more if condition. Okay. Now here we first part is we check whether preval is not equal to val. That means whether the previous disk transfer value was not equal to the current disk transfer value. If that is the case, we allow the control to go within the if condition, or we check whether the allow percentile 3 is equal to 0. Okay. Now if this is true, we go into the if block, right? Next, we check the value of counter target. If the target tower containing any disk, if no, then fine, we have no issues. But if we have a disk at the target tower, according to one of the rules of the problem, we cannot have a, a smaller disk below the larger disk. So we need to check whether the value which represents the current disk which is going to be transferred is greater than the disk which is present at the current location of counter target, right? And if that is the case, what you do is return -1, right? So what it means that the disk which we are transferring, okay, is having size greater than the disk which is currently present below the location where we want to transfer a disk, and which is not allowed. Okay, there is a disk and that disk is smaller in size, and therefore return -1. -1 indicates that there was no successful transfer of the disk. Okay. Next, we set previous val equal to val. That means we have now allowed the transfer to proceed. So we are setting the previous value disk to the new value, the current value disk. We said allow back to 0. Okay. And then we increment the target location. We do not want to place the disk at the position indicated by counter target that could have a a disk already present, or it could be set to -1. That is why we have to increment the value, and then we assign the value to the new counter target position in the tower target. We then set the value of the current position indicated by counter source in the source tower to 0. That means we have now removed that disk from the source tower, and we decrement the counter source value, right? And then we call a print tower function, in which we pass the source tower as the first argument, target tower second argument, and the third tower the third argument, and the order to specify the printing arrangement. We then return 0 to indicate that there was a successful transfer, and therefore we can call this TOF function again with the same source tower. If the disk cannot be transferred, then we cannot move on to the disk below it. Remember, always we can shift the disk at the top. And after that, one more return -1. Okay. For any reason, this condition, if block is not entered, we indicate that there was no successful transfer, and therefore we have to return -1. Now we come to print our function. There are three parameters of integer pointers, and there is one integer variable to specify the order of printing arrangement. Okay, the loop counter variable to go across loop. Then we have switch, which will have argument as order. Now, the first case is 1, 2, 3. So if the order value is 1, 2, 3, how do we print? We have a for loop, and we print values of all the three towers, right? And the first will be the first tower to be printed. Second will be the second tower to be printed, and third will be the third tower to be printed. Okay, we have a break statement. If the case is 132, we again print, but the arrangement will be the first will be the first tower to be printed, third will be the second tower to be printed, and second will be the third tower to be printed. So it matches the values which we have specified. Okay. So in this case, you have 1, 2, 3, and therefore first, second, third. In this case, we have 1, 3, 2, and therefore we have first, third, and second, okay, corresponding to the case values. That is why this order value determines the printing arrangement. We have to repeat this for case 213, case 231, case 312, and case 321. We return 0 to indicate that there was successful printing of the values of the tower. Now let's
Friends, if you found this video useful, then please like it. Do subscribe to the channel by clicking on the subscribe button. Also share this video and playlist with your friends. Thank you for watching.